Oh, Canada. What was that sound echoing from coast to coast? Was it thunder? A freight train? No, dear viewer. That was the sound of 4 votes. 4 tiny, democracy-drenched ballots that sent a political shockwave straight through the heart of Ottawa. Those 4 votes didn't just tilt a race. They delivered a spectacular faceplant to Mark Carney, the global finance heavyweight who was supposed to be the Liberals' ace in the hole. That's right. Canada's very own globe-trotting banker, freshly repackaged as a political heavyweight, just got politically body-checked in Windsor. Yes, Windsor. And folks, this wasn't a ripple, this was a Category 5 political reckoning. Meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre, he's riding that wave like a true North champion. Double-double in one hand, Charter of Rights in the other. You'd think that after years of carbon taxes, economic jargon, and panels full of PowerPoint slides, Mark Carney would have noticed, Canadians are done being talked down to. But no. He came in glowing with the confidence of someone who thought the job was already his. Like Moses descending from Mount Davos with a tablet full of economic commandments. Instead, he found himself in the lead role of a very public, very awkward political misfire. Let's talk about Windsor-Tecumseh, a riding the Liberals treated like a guaranteed win, like their personal political safety deposit box. But instead of a coronation, Carney walked into a recount. A court-supervised audit, and after all the fuss, the drama, and the legal review, he lost. By 4 votes, not 400, not 40, 4. That's the number of times Canadians can hear the phrase green transition before. Their coffee goes cold, and this wasn't just any audit. This was overseen by Judge Ross McFarland, a respected figure often seen as institutionally aligned with Ottawa's inner circle. And yet, even under that level of scrutiny, the result didn't change. No ghost votes, no last-minute saves. Just cold, hard numbers, and one very inconvenient truth. Mark Carney lost. The irony? Practically nuclear. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button. It really helps us out. Now let's get back into it. Let's talk about those mail-in ballots, shall we? The great liberal security blanket. We were told they were airtight, transparent, virtually sacred, the holy grail of progressive democracy. And yet, during this Windsor recount, we saw returned envelopes missing names, ballots that didn't match the voter rolls, mismatched registrations. Trust the system, they said. Well, folks, the system just had a nervous breakdown on national television. Now there stands Mark Carney, looking less like a leader and more like a wax statue slowly melting under the spotlight, clutching to the scraps of a would-be majority that looks more like a soft suggestion than a real mandate. All he needed? 1 seat. Just one more. But thanks to Windsor and a few quietly fed-up voters who decided they'd had enough, that dream didn't just slip away. It got shredded, stomped on, gift-wrapped for Pierre Poilievre. Let's give it up for Pierre, folks. The key. Man of the hour, the man of the moment, quite possibly, the man of the next decade. While Carney was busy adjusting his cufflinks and polishing his LinkedIn posts about inclusive GDP and monetary resilience, Pierre was out there in the snow, boots on the ground, shaking hands, hearing real stories. Not stats, not slides, stories. Inflation, grocery bills. The fact that no working-class family can afford an EV and a heat pump and mortgage payments that look like long-distance phone numbers from the 90s, that's the difference. Pierre listens. Carney lectures. Pierre shows up. Carney shows slides. And out west, Danielle Smith isn't waiting around. She's basically leading a full-on constitutional boot camp, Alberta style. Press conferences, new laws, provincial autonomy, pushing back against the bureaucratic mess that Carney and his downtown Toronto policy choir keeps singing about like it's leadership. But the people? They see it. They know the difference. Alberta isn't just resisting. Alberta is the resistance. Let's not mince words. Carney's grip on Parliament right now, shakier than one of his climate-adjusted GDP forecasts. Every bill he floats has to crawl through a gauntlet of opposition that's not just awake, It's caffeinated, furious, and sharpening its procedural daggers. The Conservatives? They smell blood in the water. The Bloc? They're polishing their separatist sabers. Even the NDP, yes, the same NDP that's been spooning the Liberals like it's a state-funded rom-com, is now sitting up straighter, pretending they haven't been holding Justin's hand for 2 years. The cozy backroom deals, dead. The committees, war zones, the budget process, a hostage negotiation with snacks. Welcome to the Thunderdome, Mark. But let's not forget who kicked this off. Not pundits, not politicians. 4 regular Canadians in Windsor. They didn't start a hashtag. They didn't shout into a megaphone. They walked into a polling station and said, nope. Nope to the gaslighting. Nope to the grocery bills that double as horror stories. Nope to the PowerPoint politics of Mark Carney. 4 tiny ballots dropped like pebbles and started a Democratic avalanche. Now Canadians from coast to coast are tuning in. They're seeing through the cracks in the Liberal illusion. They're watching as the myth of Mark Carney, the banker messiah, the Davos whisperer, crumbles faster than a Toronto condo under rent pressure. No more excuses, no more panels, no more, we're working on it, while inflation eats savings like a hungry raccoon at a cottage barbecue. Even the die-hard Liberal loyalists, the ones who used to flood Twitter with pre-approved talking points like they were on the PMO payroll, have gone silent. CBC is blinking in Morse code. The pundits have run out of euphemisms. They can't spin this one, because when a court-reviewed, judge-certified recount says you lost, you lost. And for the first time in a long time, Canada just got a taste of what it feels like to win again. Mark Carney's international delusions? Cooked, this was the guy who once dreamt of chairing the UN, leading the G20, being crowned king of carbon credits. Now, he can't even carry Windsor. Carney isn't Canada's Macron. He's not even a discount Al Gore. He's a confused LinkedIn influencer who applied for the wrong job and now won't leave the office kitchen. This wasn't a mandate. It was a mirage, built on fear, media cover, and just enough smug to keep the cocktail circuit clapping. But the fog has lifted, and what's left? 4 votes, a fractured party, and Pierre Poilievre sharpening a speech that starts with, I told you so. This was the man who once dreamed of UN roles, G20 influence, and a throne at the World Economic Forum's round table of head nodders. But newsflash, Mark. The world doesn't listen to leaders who can't even carry Windsor. Carney isn't Canada's Macron. He's not our Obama. He's Canada's answer to that confused LinkedIn guy who accidentally RSVPs to the board meeting, pitches ESG metrics to the janitor, and then refuses to leave the break room. Let's be honest. He didn't win a mandate in 2025. He won a fear auction. He borrowed dread, least anxiety, and tried to repackage it as responsible governance. Slogans like safe hands and green future. Canadians couldn't even afford to turn on the green light bulb. They didn't vote for hope. They voted to hold the line against chaos, only to find out the chaos was already in charge, wearing a carbon-neutral tie and talking about GDP like it feeds your kids. And now, that dread is eating its own tail. The recounts aren't over. Oh no, baby. They're just getting started. Quebec's watching, Newfoundland's calculating, a handful of flips, and Carney's liberal Jenga tower collapses, not in a bang, but in a slow, creaky, humiliating topple that even IKEA wouldn't warranty. 1 more seat, that's all it'll take. 1, then it's non-confidence, snap election, curtain call, and here's the kicker. Carney has no armor, no Trudeau grin, no legacy backstory, no loyal base, just a cold resume and a brain full of Davos buzzwords. Once the blood starts spilling, the caucus will smell it. They'll turn on him faster. Then a liberal on a broken promise. The whispers will begin. Maybe it's time for new leadership. Maybe we need a real Canadian face, not an imported technocrat. Meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre will be standing at the podium with the confidence of a man holding receipts. He'll say it plain. I told you so. And online? Forget it. The internet has gone full ballistic. TikTok, YouTube, X, Canada has gone Recount Nation. Ballots are being analyzed more accurately by teenagers in Saskatchewan than by Elections Canada. Videos are going viral with titles like Democracy by 4 Votes, The Windsor Wake-Up Call. Carney's coronation cancelled, live reaction. Why every vote matters, and Mark Carney hopes it doesn't. Digital Canada is lit up like a wildfire with gasoline commentary. And guess what? People aren't tuning in to CBC anymore. They're watching each other. The establishment's monopoly on the narrative is broken. The spell is shattered, and in the ruins of liberal arrogance, a new energy is rising. Because when 4 people change a nation, that's not politics. That's history. And history? Well, it has no place for failed prophets with central banking credentials and zero ground game. Mark Carney thought he was Canada's destiny, but Windsor just showed him he's barely a footnote. This isn't just political, it's cultural. It's not just a recount, it's a reckoning. A digital wildfire is raging across this country, and no press release from Carney's ivory tower can smother it. Why? Because you can't data manage your way out of humiliation. You can't pivot out of irrelevance. You can't rebrand your way out of a 4-vote faceplant. Mark Carney lost because Canadians are done. Done with the gaslighting. Done with being talked. Down to by a man whose idea of leadership is a PowerPoint and a carbon levy. While Carney's been whispering in the echo chambers of Davos, Pierre Poilievre has been shouting into the wind, and finally, the wind shouted back. Pierre isn't just ready, he's rising, rallying Canadians who've been ignored, overtaxed, and told their concerns were backward. He's not handing out panel brochures. He's handing out accountability. He's not talking to people. He's standing with them. Because this recount wasn't just a statistical event. It was a cultural alarm clock. And now the Liberals, they're not just losing. They're unraveling, thread by thread, vote by vote, recount by recount. So if you're watching this nodding along, if your grocery bill feels like a car payment, if you're tired of the elite lecture circuit running your life, then now is the moment. Speak out, share the message. Tell your neighbor, tell your MP, tell Mark Carney, Canada is not a hedge fund, it's a democracy, and we're taking it back, 1 vote at a time. And if Carney's still dreaming of a seat at the global table, he better wake up, fast, because the only stage he's heading to now is the one where Pierre Poilievre is already holding the mic. And trust me, he's not sharing.